First speaker is Manoj. So I think you'll have already attended Manoj's class is in the second year. Yeah. So Manoj, you can start. Yeah. I'll just switch off.
Morning, everyone. Today, the topic that we are going to discuss is architectural thinking. I understand that this is all inputs are going to facilitate your design thesis, design dissertation. So the main topic is architectural thinking. Within this topic of architectural thinking, we are going to touch several areas. We are going to touch the areas like architectural knowledge. We're going to touch the areas of architectural question and all other aspects that you are going to touch in next few months or a year to complete your thesis. So we're going to touch all these areas. We are not going to look at architectural examples. All I'm going to do is trying to theoretically dissect our thinking pattern and how it really influences the way in which we carry out our research or architectural thesis work. We're going to dissect it theoretically without any architectural example. So let's look at the first fundamental conceptual clarity on architectural thinking versus architectural knowledge. Very often, this two terms are kind of mixed with each other. Knowingly, unknowingly, we don't use, but we are aware of these terms. So, architectural thinking is about the way we perceive and mobilize our cognitive response to a situation. It means that a lot of things that we have learned in last 4 years, 5 years, whatever number of years you are in touch with architectural field or profession, you are exposed to things and you are able to react. You have developed sufficient maturity to react on a situation, and you build your cognitive understanding. This is known as architectural thinking. I mean, sometimes you react, okay, this building is too tall, too short. Sometimes you think building is not responding to the context. Sometimes you think building is too opaque or too masculine or whatever, whatever. These are all cognitive responses. And the depth of this response is very depends on person to person. Architectural knowledge is an intellectual capacity for conceptual response. So how you conceptually develop a model for yourself from earlier cognitive response. It is a very interpersonal skill. It depends on individuals. It depends on level of exposure one has. So it is one's ability to intellectualize, one's ability to represent that idea on architectural thinking. So architectural thinking is something which is a basic, which is something based on which your architectural knowledge kind of reacts on. So architectural thinking thrives on discipline knowledge and interdiscipline knowledge. It means how much you are exposed to variety of discipline. KRVI does that at various levels, and you are exposed to many other disciplines. So architectural thinking is able to discern or identify gap, conflict, or issues. So whenever you are looking at architectural thesis, you are actually applying your architectural thinking. You are in architectural thinking mode, and try to look at various situations around you, and try to find or try to articulate the gap, the conflict issues, and architectural knowledge kind of a substantiate. It's your ability to articulate your architectural thinking. So there are two things. They work simultaneously, and they work to develop larger understanding of your architectural responses. So there are 4 basic questions that comes about when you talk about architectural questions within architectural thinking. And this is very important for you all to understand this these questions, because knowingly, unknowingly, we get into these questions and we find some issues at some point and we realize that perhaps thing should have been other way around. So first system of architectural knowledge is a problem solving inquiry. Now, problem solving inquiry is a very traditional school of thought coming from industrialization phase, and it thrives on what we call it system theory. It means that you look at each parts independently and then find a network condition and then resolve the entire puzzle. Architecture was also seen in this context as a problem solving inquiry, and they are theoretically at least defined as rationalist, which you all would have heard of this word in your architectural theory second year and third year. The second line of thought is architectural knowledge is a formal inquiry, which is we have done mainly in our second year theory, where you set certain questions which are tectonic in nature. There is a difference between tectonic and architectonics. We have used this word, but again, to just try to define, tectonic is pure forms. Platonic forms are tectonic, but architectonic is something when you architecturalize that form. You try to contextualize that form. So here, architectural knowledge, which is a formal inquiry, which means you try to understand the formal response. Your architectural thinking is purely operating at formal level, and you begin to dissect the tectonic, and your architectural knowledge supports to find gaps, conflicts, and things like that. The third aspect, the architectural knowledge specific to physiologic contextual inquiry. It means you are looking at the physical context. You are not looking at the form or architecture of the building, but you are looking at a broader context. Your canvas is little wider, and you try to absorb various situations in this context. And perhaps at some point, depends on your individual capacity, you try to look at architectural forms systematically, methodically. So in broader sense, it is also known as methodical formalism, because your understanding of form is not purely from the pleasure point of view, but the formal understandings are contextual point of view. And very often we use this third path, most desirable path, but we'll come to that point. And the fourth point, which is very important in some sense, but also caution to many of you who sets architectural knowledge as a social, political, and cultural inquiry. It means you are widening your speculative area much beyond the physical context. You are entering into the realm of social context. You are entering into the realm of political context and cultural context. Yes, some aspects of cultural context are part of the third aspects, but the scale is not that. Here we are talking about the cultural context in terms of the way the political scenario shapes our way of thinking. And this kind of architectural knowledge that you try to exercise in your thesis is discursive in nature, is speculative in nature. So these are four broad areas of questioning. Now, I do not claim by any standard that these are all independent. Very often, we try to take particular route and enter into another. So these are all methods and processes that one has to be very clear of. And it kind of articulates your own thesis process. So this is just for your concern and your clarity that you might start at some point, but you end up with something else. And at that point, you might just go back and realize, okay, no, I need to pull it back. So generally, the first criteria, the problem solving we talk about, is generally is known as design thinking, because you are trying to resolve certain design criteria. And typically, I would call it 90% of this design thinking is the way the practices, 90% of practices work. And It looks at every situation as a problem, and one needs to identify these problems in parts or whole and try to, produce architecture which does justice to the design brief. Very often, thesis falls into this category, but these are not theses. These are all problem-solving ideas. And then there are discipline questions. Typically, discipline questions characteristics are building larger architectural question and the way in which you engage with intellectual criticism to your inquiry. Now, this architectural question, again, just try to highlight a little bit why it's discipline, because it resolves on serious inquiry, systematic inquiry. It resolves on broader canvas of architectural question. It resolves on various disciplines to raise some standards of architectural question. You have raised some questions in your first year, second year, third year, fourth year architecture at various scales. In thesis, you are expected to expand your question, architectural question. It is much broader and also expected to look at this architectural question at certain scale of projects. So this is very important. This is very, very important for all of you. How do you demonstrate those architectural questions, large architectural questions with various disciplines, discipline inquiry, and how do you demonstrate at various scales? So the discipline inquiry actually is a very open-ended, kind of inquiry and experimentation. It means there are various possibilities. It thrives on what we call it inductive logic. It means there are two ways of defining logic. One is deductive logic, where you slowly, systematically arrive at the issues of the problems and resolve it. It narrows down. And open-ended inquiries, inductive logic, where you look at expanding your areas and identify your desirable path. And at some point, you think that's sufficiently matured enough to have arrived at. And this is the stage where you integrate your discipline understanding and your design thinking together. It means your demonstration at the end of the thesis is the building or group of buildings. It means your thesis is about the build forms. So let's look at this chart a little bit carefully. The four stages, I call it a research question. There is a pattern, there is a system, and there is a structure or restructure. So very often we start with this idea of site. Many of you will have understanding of site. Many of you will have understanding of problems. And many of you would have taken canonical or non-canonical understanding based on various disciplines. Some of you might touch on area of sociology. Some of you might touch the area of anthropology. Some of you might touch issues of politics. You might touch the issues of certain other pathological conditions. These issues are very often not just limited to areas, cities, but as a nation whole. So you might look at this idea of scales. So there are scales embedded into the research question. One is to understand the scale. Now, when you do that, very often I'm saying, I'm not generalizing it. I'm talking about almost 80 to 85% of theses results into second phase as a identification of problems in that large canvas that you have decided to work on. And you identify problems and programs. So there is a discord. There is a discord that happens at first stage. And you employ your third stage, which is a design discipline understanding, which is a conduct and performance. It means there are prerequisites which thesis prescribes. You try to employ those skills at third stage. Very often we use structure, we use services, we use environmental and ecosystems and all kind of things. You employ this at third stage. In the fourth stage, you think that that form is good enough to justify what your earlier research question. but not realizing there is a great discord, there is a great imbalance and lack of harmony between what you have formally annexed and what your initial inquiries are. This is the standard process that we see. Now we look at the second model where some thesis attempts to go beyond that first stage. Few theses. I'm not talking about you all, but I'm generally talking about the experience of the past, where few students look at this idea of all these inquiries is a kind of a knowledge gap. Now this is very important. There is a knowledge gap, architectural knowledge gap in the system, which is social in nature, political in nature, historical, theoretical, architectural. And once you dwell on this idea of gap in architectural knowledge, you try to understand what kind of systems that you have to look at. How do you really define this gap? How do you justify this gap? So you resort on a very important stage, architecture as a system of inquiry. It means you try to navigate your argument through various case studies, various examples, various theoretical writings, literature reviews, and try to consolidate your first impression about gap in architectural knowledge. And then you come to stage 3, which is identifying pattern. What are the possible patterns? If you can recollect, I use the word inductive logic, where inductive logic is identifying various possibilities, and you operate your architectural knowledge related to place, culture, society, people, and things like that, or even very often urban, very often history, conservation, urban design, things like that. And you able to critique the earlier. So we are coming to the second model, which is also seen among students. The way in which they inquire into architectural thesis research work. Few of them are able to identify the gap in architectural knowledge, which are of various kinds, as listed. And based on their gap of knowledge, they are able to employ certain, architectural thinking in terms of various architectural ideas, which are prevalent, or whether architectural literature, architectural case studies, they are able to employ, they are able to use at much earlier stage, and they are able to engage, the whole conceptualization process with respect to place, people, culture, city, and so on and so forth. So one is able to discern this kind of a process systematically, and they are in a position to look at the whole system as a intellectual critique, or what we call it, reimagine or reconfigure, or variety of kind of re-looking at architectural system. So this is something prevalent in general sense to some of the few students that we have observed. Now, very often depends on individual capacity, depends on individual way of working. Not everyone can start with this idea of understanding what is gap in architectural knowledge, or what is the right readings, or how do I go about it. I think for those students, I think it's better they look at the area of interest in architecture. Now, when I say area of interest in architecture, means you can look at even as what is that aspects of architecture that you think interest you the most. It could be a simple idea, or it could be even some examples of buildings, or some architect's work, for example. And slowly, steadily, once you study those kind of initial area of interest for buildings or someone's architecture, you can expand into the understanding the relevance of that work in various connotations, without even touching this gap. So once you identify larger social, political, historical geography, you can start looking at your area of interest operationalized in a physical context. and then slowly move into the architecture as a system inquiry and conceptualization of architecture as similar to the previous stage, and come to the fourth stage where you begin to uh, 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 design a building, begin to look at architectural form, resonate your earlier area of interest and your understanding of a knowledge structure. So this is something which is for those who are still fumbling. How do I start? Where do I start? I think this is the right way of going about it. Now, I just wanted to highlight this last 2-3 slides. Very important. It's talking about the position that we defined in uh, first, second slide, and the responses. So there are approaches, there are positions that you take. Obviously, they are not absolutely nature. There are mix of methods, mix of positions, but primarily you are positioned somewhere. And there are responses which are formal in nature. You have what I call it a formal integrity. There is a structural integrity and there is environmental integrity. Coincidentally, these are the aspects that also, uh, should result into. So if you look at 4 paths, 4 positions, if you find one can look at simple thing like when you are looking at a problem solving, the formal integrity your project is moderately weak. It means your form is just begin to consolidate your functions and nothing beyond that. Or sometimes they fall into typologically classifiable architecture. Very often you find many of the buildings that we find very typically, uh, uh, typical plans that emerge, or typical architecture form that emerges at the end. And structural integrity here is more driven by application. It means you try to resolve your structure. So you have all kind of structural system coming at the end, and you start running from pillar to post to find out what is the right way of doing it. And then there is environmental integrity. You similarly follow into similar categories. Now, I'm not trying to criticize anyone, but this is the general response that we see. But when you look at the tectonic path, your architectural inquiry is about more inclined towards the tectonics, the way things are put together. Your formal integrity is very strong because you are substantiating form with another form. Your argument, your debate is about form. So your response is very, very strong. Your structural integrity is often very much embedded because your structure is no more working on application mode. You are talking about how to make this tectonic, work architecturally. And very often in this mode, we have seen environmental integrity is application based because you are actually not, mobilizing those aspects which are important and relevant in the second phase. The third phase, which is contextual based inquiry, uh, looking at larger aspects beyond architectural objects, is methodical formalism, where we look at the formal integrity is strong enough because it is trying to resolve many other contextual issues. It means you are trying to reflect your architecture, uh, you know, with various situation and condition around. You have a structural integrity which is embedded. Again, now you can see the embedded condition is not bold, but you have a structural integrity in such situation. And I have seen very often when this path is taken, your environmental integrity is very strongly embedded, because you are looking at context. And this is the most desirable path in that sense. And the fourth path, where we talk about larger interdiscipline inquiries, again, coming back to the first question, architectural thinking could be discursive in nature, but architectural knowledge may not be able to substantiate that. And when such situation arrives, your formal integrity is very weak. So structural integrity is very heavily depending on application mode. And your environmental integrity depends on situation. It has certain embedded conditions because you are looking at those criterias, discursive criterias to begin with your thesis argument. So these are broad paths. Now, obviously, a question would come that these are not the absolute, and these are not the only 4. There are many. Yes, there are many more, and there are overlaps. So I was trying to look at this the most desirable path versus the least desirable path. You can see 3 colored dots, which looks at various situation. If you start looking at, for example, tectonic architectural system as a tectonic inquiry, you look at formal structural within that realm, but at some point you need to shift to environmental integrity and look at the context. So embedded condition, you need to shift to methodical inquiry, and your response becomes strong enough. And this is what I call it. If you look at blue dot, which is a high key architecture and high tech architecture, very often they look at this path, and a lot of architecture you'll find, especially in some of this productionist architect, productivist architect, they look at this path, uh, uh, where they deploy skills appropriately at the stages. Now, I'm not trying to promote anything. This is just a kind of a observation based on various trends in architecture. The second aspect, what you see green line, which is looking at formal integrity, which is strong enough to start with because you already have embedded conditions. But shift your structural integrity in terms of exploration. So from a regular font to a bold font, it means you are exploring your structural integrity in that system. And then come back to environmental integrity, which is a part of your methodical inquiry. And this is, most of us, is the most desirable path. And the discursive path, as I said, it starts with very weak understanding of what kind of architectural form that kind of you are looking at, what kind of architecture that you are looking at. Because there is, the whole argument is very discursive in nature, and obviously structural integrity is way beyond the scope of understanding the embedded conditions. And very often the integrity, you shift the environmental integrity very often, and this is the least desirable path, where you are not able to deploy your architectural knowledge and architectural thinking in a cohesive manner. So this is just a broad understanding. When you start, putting your questions, your thought, your architectural ideas in the beginning, and this is the right time you start thinking on these lines. And two aspects which I believe are very important when you combine these methods, discursive and tectonic. So here, you try to see architectural clues from social and cultural phenomena, and discursive and methodical, you look at architectural context as a very important part. So there is architectural clues in the first phase, and you are looking at architectural context. Now, architectural clues are, of course, very heavily tectonic in nature, and context is much broader canvas. So these are possible mixed methods that one could look at, way in which you set your architectural inquiry. And last slide, just to kind of make it diagrammatically more simpler for many of you, you can see two axes. One on moving on my right is design domain. As you move towards right, your design inquiry is stronger. It's more design domain. And as you move towards left is more anthropological domain. You're talking about various dimensions of people, place, culture, and things like that. And if you do vertically, it's a policy domain, which is, it's not amounting to the development control rules, but there are certain norms. The norms set by various systems, and you follow those norms. And you go at the bottom, which is a technocratic domain. You begin to set inquiries which are technical in nature. And I will position one circle center, which is architecture, which tries to balance out all the forces. I mean, obviously, not necessarily this is the ideal situation. But if you expand circle, your area of inquiry, you begin to see urban design, conservation, all kind of other discipline that begins to take shapes your architectural inquiry, and you try to bring in this urban question, which are still remain in design domain. Still, you can design and try to bring into architecture. That's another I mean, very desirable situation. The third circle is actually looking at ecology and landscape. Now, this inquiry is much broader, much wider, which encompasses very idea of urban. The urban question is embedded into that. Your architectural ideas also come out of that. Now, this is also softly embedded into design domain, softly. And one could look at these ideas, but you can understand the gap that exists between ecological inquiry and architecture is slightly wider. So here your architectural knowledge has to really be sufficient enough to bring that argument into an architectural situation. And you move towards the planning domain, begin to inquire into something which is related to planning policy and things like that, which kind of governs ecological concern, which governs urban questions. The gap is much wider, much wider. And there is a sociological domain, anthropological domain. Your concerns are much wider. The scales are much wider. They are much beyond urban questions. They are questions which concern the maybe the nation, concerns the issues of the globe. And look at the gap that widens, and very often this is what exactly I was trying to see in this last discursive, because you are not able to demonstrate your architectural skills through that process. I'm not saying that's not desirable, because you can see the way the circle is drawn, it touches architectural realm, it is influencing architectural realm. But it depends on your knowledge, architectural knowledge, how it is able to substantiate your architectural thinking. So this diagram is something will be very handy if you try to locate your initial architectural question, put a dot there and see what are the systems that you need to bring your inquiry into an architectural domain.